Yeah, fuck you, bitch. You got exactly what you deserved, Michael said aloud as he sat down at his computer. With a smug smile on his face, he went back to his list of news stories and started looking for another one. I have time for one more burn the bitch story before Franny gets home. Every night, Michael sat down at his computer and read stories from his favorite erotic fiction website. He especially enjoyed reading stories about wives who cheated and how their husbands got revenge on them. He couldn't get enough of them. Sometimes he would put his fist up and loudly say, "It's okay," at the end of the story. Every once in a while, he would get a story that didn't end the way he wanted it to, and he would get frustrated and angry. When that happened, he'd leave a long dissertation in the feedback area about how a cuckold husband should treat a cheating wife. And he didn't fail to call the author a wuss or an asshole when he disagreed with him. Michael was, to put it mildly, a loving wives maniac. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of erotic fiction. It's even okay if you prefer one genre over another. And there's certainly nothing wrong with having an opinion about what you read. It's just that Michael was overreaching in just about everything he did in life, and devouring the loving wives erotic fiction he'd been reading for the past few months was yet another example of his obsessive nature. A nature that would one day get him into a lot of trouble. What Michael didn't know was that that day was rapidly approaching. Michael's eyes were fixed on the screen as another husband, coming home early from work, discovered his wife having fun with a neighbor. His attention was so focused on the story that he didn't hear his own wife walk through the front door downstairs. "Hello? Michael? You who? Where are you?" called Fran, coming down the steps. "Shit," he said under his breath. He looked at his watch and saw that it was 10:45 p.m. "Damn, lost track of time again." He closed the website and walked to the stairs. "Hey, honey. You got home a little later than you said you would. Did you have a good time with the girls?" Fran walked up the stairs and replied, "Yeah, had a great time. You wouldn't believe what my idiot little sister did tonight. Now I'm tired, I smell like smoke, and I'm a little tipsy, so I'm just going to take a shower and go to bed. I'll tell you all about it in the morning." Fran kissed Michael, walked past him into the bathroom, and closed the door. Michael remained standing in the hallway looking stupid. "Damn, no sex again tonight," Michael said under his breath as he went back to his room and turned off his computer. That's the second time this week. Hell, last week she had a special project at work that kept her there until midnight. And then last week, her friend Marcy got sick. For the past month, my right arm is the only action I've seen. What the hell is going on here? Michael turned and walked down the stairs, his wife's humming in the shower heard in the distance. "I need a beer." Beer in hand, his ass firmly seated in the leather chair, the living room TV on, and the sound muted, of course, Michael began to do something he was ill-equipped to do. He started thinking. "Okay, Michael, what the hell is going on?" Michael would always talk to himself when he was trying to solve a complex problem. It would have looked incredibly strange if there was anyone else in the room, but he was alone and could do whatever he wanted. In the last 2 months, Franny started coming home late 2 or 3 times a week. She's always too tired or too drunk to give me a massage. The only sex we've had was that night 2 weeks ago after a movie with her sister and her asshole husband. But even then, she wasn't into it. I had to do all the work. Last Monday, I called her at work and her secretary said she was in a meeting. When she called back, she was on her cell phone out of breath, and I could have sworn I heard a man's voice in the background. This was the 3rd time I'd been unable to reach her at work. And her new gym membership is certainly paying off, but for whom? Sure, she looks great, but I don't see her ass and breasts as often as I'd like. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the new clothes and underwear. Why didn't she tell me she bought all that sexy lingerie? Probably because she knows how I feel about the fact that I charged everything on her credit card without asking. I just wish she would wear it when we went out, but it seems like she only wears it when she goes out with the girls. I'm not sure I believe the bullshit excuse that she's just trying to make her friends jealous. What is going on here? Michael's voice broke. His head tilted sideways. The beer slipped from his hand onto the carpet. It was only a moment before a soft snore sounded. As if from an explosion, Michael jumped up from his chair and woke up. He stood there with his eyes wide open and his mouth hanging open. "That bitch is cheating on me!" he bellowed into the empty room. "I'm going to fucking kill her!" Michael turned and started to walk up the stairs, but stopped, changing his mind. Wait a minute. She thinks she can hide her cheating from me? Well, I'm a lot smarter than she thinks. I've read enough to know that I'm a damn expert when it comes to cheating wives. I'll teach her to mess with me. I need proof. I need something I can use to get revenge when the time comes, something she can't deny. I need to be really tough. But first I need a plan. Michael slowly and calmly continued up the stairs, but instead of turning right into the bedroom, he turned left into the room. As he turned on his computer and sat down at his desk, he heard his wife snoring quietly in the bedroom. When the computer booted up, he logged on to his favorite erotic short story website. So, let's see what other experts have done in a similar situation. Within an hour, he had compiled a list of the equipment needed to obtain evidence of her infidelity, and another list of the top 10 revenge plans he could find. Finished, he leaned back in his chair with a satisfied smirk on his face. That's quite enough of that, and tomorrow I'll devise a plan of action to catch that cheating bitch. Michael printed out 2 lists and put them in his briefcase. Turning off his computer, he stood in the hallway, deciding if he could sleep in the same bed as that cheating whore. He decided to go back downstairs and fall asleep in the chair. After all, he had fallen asleep in front of the TV many times before, so it wouldn't seem strange. In the morning, Michael heard the usual, "Get up, it's late," from Fran. "You fell asleep in front of the TV again. Now get up and get ready. I have to be at work early this morning to get ready for my presentation. I left some toast on the counter for your breakfast. Now get up, I gotta go." Fran kissed Michael, walking out the back door to her car. "Fuck you, bitch!" Michael was as creative as ever this morning. "You cheating whore! You're going to pay for all your nasty behavior!" With anger still at its peak, Michael cleaned himself up and headed to work. Fran's breakfast remained untouched on the kitchen counter. All day at work, Michael mulled over his plans. Needless to say, he didn't have time to get much done. He went through a list of possible revenge scenarios and thought about how to put each one into action. He was proud of himself because there were quite a few good options, some of them quite extreme, and some of them almost hilarious. Right now, the one he was most excited about was selling a cheating bitch into sex slavery somewhere in South America. He'd have to be very strong to pull something like that off, but it was entirely possible. Another option he liked was to slip some superglue to glue her lover's household to her ass. But the most likely option was to send pictures of her sex to her family, friends, co-workers, and of course her lover's family and friends. That was something he could do. After work, Michael stopped by one of the electronics stores in town and bought the eavesdropping equipment on his list. The total cost came to over $1,500. "Wow, that's a lot more than I expected," he said as he left the store. "But if it helps fry that whore, it'll be worth every penny." As usual, Michael got home before Fran did, so he was able to discreetly take the purchases to his workbench in the basement. He opened the boxes of voice recorders and set them up according to the instructions. Then he opened the motion-activated lipstick video cameras and set them up. Finally, he opened and installed the GPS tracking devices. It took probably $100 for everything. When he was finished, he sat back and smiled as he thought about what lay ahead of him. Soon, he began to think about what might be happening. The sound of a door slamming shut and the clacking of heels on the tile floor above his head brought him out of his reverie. "Oh, the bitch is back. Let's go upstairs and see what adventure she has planned for tonight." As he turned the corner into the kitchen, he saw Fran standing at the counter with a beer in her hand. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked. "I'm in a rage right now, so don't get too close. That asshole Carrington screwed up my presentation today, and I have to go back to work tonight and straighten things out. I stopped here to change. You'll have to get your own dinner tonight. No problem. I'll probably just go to Mickey D's or something. What time will you be home? I have no idea. I'll probably be really late, so go to bed. When I get home, I'll be as quiet as possible when I get to bed. Don't worry. Oh, I won't. Michael turned and went downstairs to his workroom in the basement. After a few minutes, he heard the shower running upstairs and decided to set up his listening equipment while she was busy. Going into the garage, he put one of the voice recorders under the front seat of Fran's car and then installed one of the GPS tracking devices in the trunk behind the spare tire. After making sure everything was as she had left it, he went into the house to find her pocketbook. Fran carried a pocketbook the size of a small suitcase, so putting a second GPS tracking device in the bottom under all her junk was easy. Finished, he pulled a beer out of the fridge and sat down in front of the TV in the living room. "I'm out of here," Fran said, walking past the living room on her way out. "I don't know where I'll be sitting at work, so if there's an emergency, call my cell phone instead of my work number. Bye." Michael looked up to notice that she was wearing one of her new black dresses and stockings. A bit dressy for work, he thought. "Okay, slut, have fun. You won't have to have fun for long. Soon, bitch, very soon." He pulled out his lipstick video cameras and set them up around the house, in the living room, the kitchen, and each of the bedrooms. The phone recorder he plugged into the phone, jacked downstairs. Finally, he pulled out Fran's laptop computer and installed a program on it to record keystrokes and screens. Finished, he smiled and went upstairs to read the latest dramas about cheating wives. Over the next 2 weeks, Michael became increasingly frustrated with technology and his inability to get proof of his wife's cheating. The tape recorder he had set up in the car recorded everything because the radio was on all the time. He could hear Fran's voice when she talked on her cell phone, but he couldn't make out her words over the music. The GPS unit in the trunk of the car always showed her driving to work, or to the restaurant where she was meeting friends from work, or to the grocery store, or to the gym for a workout. The pocketbook repeated the one in the car. No mysterious phone conversations were recorded. The home video cameras only captured Michael's backing away from them as he put them back in place, and occasionally Fran when she came in after work. She hadn't used the laptop since he'd installed the new software, so the only recording he'd made was Michael's signature. And every time he checked the laundry basket looking for her panties, all he found were dirty clothes. No men, no sex, nothing. "Damn! $1,500 down the drain," Michael muttered to himself as he returned the last video camera to its hiding place. "Maybe I need another plan." After thinking for a moment, he remembered one of the common mistakes cheating wives make. When the husband went out of town, the wife always secluded herself and her lover to play. "Here's what I'll do. I'll go out of town for a few days. I'll say it's to prepare for work. Then I'll follow her and catch her in the act. I'll need a good camera with a long lens to take pictures. And I'll need a rental car so she won't recognize mine. I can stay at a motel nearby when I'm not in my car. Yeah, that's what it takes." After work the next day, Michael went shopping for a camera, $900, arranged for a rental car, $95 per day, and booked a hotel room, $89 per day. When he got home, Fran was already preparing dinner as he walked in. "Hi, I have to go out of town for a few days next week," Michael said. "They're sending me to training on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's not that far away, so I don't have to fly. I'll just drive. It's only a 4-hour drive. I'll leave Wednesday after work and be back sometime Sunday." "I'm sorry to hear that. I thought we could have dinner at the new cafe on Lexington on Friday. Oh well, I'll try to find something to do so I don't get screwed." She went back to stirring whatever was in the pot in front of her. "Dinner will be ready in a few minutes, so go clean up and set the table." Washing his hands, Michael thought. That was too easy. She's obviously got something on her mind. I'll get her this time, I know it for a fact, and then she'll burn like a cheating bitch. Early Wednesday morning, Michael packed a bag with the things he would need for the training weekend and put it in the car. Before leaving, he checked his cameras and phone recorder. Last night, he reset the settings on 2 GPS devices. Then he drove to the motel, checked in, parked the car, and walked across the street to the rental car place to pick up the rental car. It was ready, and he drove home, parked on the street in a spot where the front of his house was clearly visible. He turned off the car, leaned back in the seat, and waited. His thoughts scattered, and soon he was thinking about what she must be doing. Michael shook his head. Damn, I've got to stop thinking about what that slut is doing. She's driving me crazy. All day, he sat in the car and followed her wherever she went. He was disappointed to find her doing only the usual things, going to work, having lunch with her girlfriends, working out at the gym after work, and coming home with Chinese takeout. When the lights went out in the house, he waited a little while before returning to his motel room with Chinese takeout. Before going to bed, Michael called Fran to let her know that he was in his room and that the long drive had gone without incident. When he hung up, he felt angry that he couldn't get the bitch down tonight. Maybe tomorrow? He asked aloud. Thursday and Friday were repeats of Wednesday, nothing special. He was beginning to suspect that Fran knew she was being watched and wasn't going to do anything about her lover. Saturday, on the other hand, was different. As he sat in his car early in the morning watching his house, Fran got into her car and drove away. He followed her. She drove for a long time out of town. A couple times he almost lost sight of her. Finally, she pulled up to a large hotel and parked at the entrance. Michael saw her go inside, but he didn't want to risk going after her, so he sat down and waited. He was glad he had finally caught her. He waited almost 3 hours before she came out with a bunch of packages. Each one had 2010 Craft Extravaganza printed on it. Damn, now I remember. She was telling me about the craft show this weekend. Fran drove off and Michael stayed behind. She drove straight home and Michael parked again. Michael waited and waited and waited, and again nothing. While he waited, he dreamed. Michael woke up from his reverie just after dark, when a car pulled into the driveway next to Fran's house. Michael didn't see who got out of the car and went to the door, but he could make out Fran opening the door and wrapping her arms around the neck of the man standing there before stepping inside and closing the door. Soon, 5 more cars pulled up, and at least 10 more people got out of them and went inside. All the lights in the house were on. Through the telephoto lens, Michael could see people walking around the living room and kitchen holding drinking glasses. A light came on in the upstairs bedroom, and Michael pointed the telephoto lens at the window, but could only make out shadows of movement in the room. I need to get a closer look so I don't get caught. Michael got out of the car and walked towards the house, keeping in the shadows so the neighbors couldn't see him. He climbed over the fence and climbed on top of the air conditioning unit to look in the living room window. When he managed to peek inside, he was shocked by what he saw. Fran and a bunch of her lingerie-clad girlfriends were strutting around, laughing and lifting for each other the long-stemmed wine glasses his sister had given them for their wedding. Fran was wearing a black bustier with a black thong, black stockings, and heeled shoes. She looked just gorgeous, slutty, but gorgeous. Her friend Marcy stood in front of her in a long, flowing white negligee. Damn, I didn't realize she was so hot, Michael thought, nearly losing his balance on the air conditioning unit. Fran's little sister came up behind Marcy and put her arm around her waist. The younger sister was wearing only a pink thong and a pink bra. Other women he didn't know, also in lingerie, were drifting around the room, talking and drinking. Michael began to tense up looking at all these beautiful half-naked women. He was oblivious to the camera he was holding. He just stood there, staring, and suddenly a light bulb went off in his head. Jesus, my wife is a lecher. As he stood looking at the beautiful women in their underwear, a man came down the stairs with an armful of clothes. Michael heard him say something like, "Here, ladies, try on these beauties. I have something for everyone." Michael noticed that the man was very muscular and appeared to be bodybuilding, and although the thought disgusted him, he had to admit that the man was very good-looking. As he brought the camera up to his face to take a picture, he heard from behind him, "Okay, mister, don't move. Turn around slowly and come down here." Michael turned around and saw a light shining in his eyes. Covering his eyes, he could make out the vague image of a policeman with a flashlight in his hands. "Bastard," he said to himself. He slowly climbed down from the air conditioner and stood in front of the policeman. "Hands behind your head," the tall officer said. Michael complied, and the officer snapped the handcuffs on his hands behind his back. "Now, why don't you tell me what you're doing that I can't figure out?" Michael whimpered. "Look, officer, it's not what it looks like. I can explain. This is my house, and my wife is having an orgy with a bunch of women there. I'm trying to get proof that she's cheating on me so I can divorce the bitch." "Really?" "That's the best thing I've heard in a while. Let's go to my car and check you out." A moment later, Michael was sitting on his hands in the back seat, and the officer in the front seat was looking at Michael's driver's license and talking to the dispatcher. "Well, there are no warrants or restraining orders on you, and this is your address, so you're probably clean. I think we should ask your wife if she wants you here." "No, she won't be able to find me here. I'll never get the proof I need to fry her. Just let me go and I'll get out of here and find another way." "Sorry, buddy. Can't do that. Besides, look at the front window. Everyone's looking at us, so they know we're here." Fran came out onto the porch in her long coat, and the officer came out to talk to her. After some conversation, they both walked over to the car. "Michael, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in class. What's going on?" said Fran, looking out the window of the police car with a concerned look on her face. After thinking for a moment, Michael said, "I got home early and saw all the lights on and all the cars in the driveway and got worried about what was going on, so I went to the side window and looked in. That's when the officer saw me and thought I was peeping. A burglar or something." "That's crazy. We're just having one of Marcy's underwear parties. You know everyone here." "Who the hell is that man?" Michael pointed toward the porch where he stood. "Leroy. He's the clothing supplier. He organizes and sets everything up, helps pick out appropriate outfits for the guests. He's always there. He's harmless." "Harmless as hell. I've seen him. He's built like Mr. Universe and good-looking. What are you women going to do with him? A bunch of half-naked women running around can only turn him on. And then what? Take turns going upstairs?" "Michael, he's gay." The policeman turned away and started laughing into his hands. By now, everyone was standing on the porch in their coats or peering around the corner of windows and doors. All Michael had to do was squirm in his seat. Fran turned to the officer and said, "It's all right, officer. I'll vouch for this idiot. He's not as dangerous as he looks. Can you let him go?" "Yes, ma'am. You can take him." The officer helped Michael out of the car and, unlocking the handcuffs, whispered in Michael's ear, "You've got some nerve." The officer drove off, and Michael was left standing in the front yard with Fran staring at him with bullets in her eyes. "Okay, mister. Before we go in the house, explain yourself." "I'll do that. Just let me get something from my car." He walked to his car, got in it, and sped off, leaving Fran standing in the yard with her mouth open. As he walked into his motel room, his cell phone rang. He just turned it off and started packing his things. He had a decision to make: drive home and face the music, or keep driving in the opposite direction. It was well past midnight when Michael pulled into the driveway. The house lights were on, and Fran's car was parked in the driveway where it belonged. All the other cars were gone. Michael didn't feel like going into the house to meet her gaze, so he sat on the porch and listened to the crickets. It was a while before he heard the door open behind him. "So, care to explain today's little show?" said Fran, sitting down next to him. "Not really. Just yell at me now and be done with it." "I'm not going to yell at you. I might send you somewhere with rooms with rubber walls, but I'm not going to yell at you." You bother me sometimes. Just tell me what you were thinking." After a long pause to gather his thoughts, Michael laid it all out. "Here's how. I was worried that you were cheating on me. Let's face it, we haven't been together much lately because you're always up late at work or with a sick friend or with the girls, and in the last couple months I've had more sex with myself than with you. God, we don't even talk anymore. What was I supposed to think?" Fran stared at him for a long moment before saying something. "That's it? You thought I was having an affair? Where the hell did you get that idea?" "Well, it was all those stories I read on an erotic story website about wives who cheat on their husbands. We had all the classic symptoms. You did all the same things those women did. I could only believe that you were, you know." Fran looked at her feet. Slowly raising her eyes, she said, "Are you kidding me? This is fiction, for heaven's sake. Nothing like this happens in real life. Be a real Michael. No, you better get out of here. If you think for 1 minute that some bullshit you read on some fictional story website is real life, you need to get out and clear your head. Just get as far away from me as you can. Do it now before I smear that pee you call a brain all over the porch. How fucking stupid can you be?" Michael could only look down at his feet in embarrassment. He also couldn't think of anything to say. He just sat there. "One more thing. You bought electronic equipment to catch me cheating? Our credit card was charged $1,500. "Yeah, that was me." "Damn it, Michael. We can't afford to have you buying crap trying to catch me doing something that only exists in your twisted imagination. I don't know whether to be flattered or pissed off. Right now I'm furious. You know I would never do anything like that. Christ almighty." "I'm sorry. I was just worried. I don't want to lose you. I just couldn't stand being a cuckold. I'd die." Tears came to his eyes as he admitted it. Fran put her hand on Michael's shoulder and said, "No, you dumbass. You're not losing me. I'm not cheating on you. I never have, and I never will. You may be the stupidest man I've ever met, but I love you, and I won't do anything like that to our marriage. Michael, you shouldn't believe everything you read in these stupid stories. They're not reality, we are. Now wipe your eyes and go get a beer." Michael got up and went into the house to get a beer. Fran sighed heavily, reached into her robe, pulled out her cell phone and pressed a speed dial number. "Hey, it's me. Yeah, everything's fine, but that dumb shit knows something's going on. We're going to have to chill for a while. Yeah, I love you too. I can't wait to be together again either. Soon, baby, soon. Bye."